All right. It looks like it's 7 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Just a couple notes. I mean, Bobby's out, Chuck is out, and Ann is out. So we have enough for a quorum tonight, so we're going to go ahead and get going. But due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and the current public health guidelines for social distancing, I have determined that it's not prudent for members of the village board or staff to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are attending this meeting by video conference. Those same conditions require barring access to the public for in-person attendance. In light of those limitations, the public is invited to attend and listen to the meeting through the Zoom platform or by phone as indicated on the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, tonight's meeting is being recorded. If I could ask Deputy Clerk Sherry Schlagman to take attendance and ask if everyone can be heard. And you have to unmute yourself. You're muted, Sherry.
Sorry.
You're good. Okay, thank you.
I am Deputy Clerk Sherry Schlagman. Trustee O'Connor, are you present and can you hear me?
I am and I can.
Great. Trustee Borowski, are you present and can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you.
And then Trustee Michaud, are you present and can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. All right.
All right, we're all here. That's going to be here anyways. If we could say a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United
United
States
States of America
and to
and to the republic
of
which it
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
God,
under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice
justice
for
for
all.
Okay, great. So now there are two trustees and the village president that needs to be sworn in. I believe, Sherry, you're going to swear me in first, right? Virtually. And then I will,
Swearing in.
I can
Okay.
actually read it if you want. I have it in front of me, if
Okay.
that helps. I mean, if I can do it this way, I guess, right?
Mhm.
I, Bill Jacob, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of village president of the Village of Long Grove, Illinois, to the best of my ability.
Sounds good.
I'm sworn in. Okay, so now I'm going to start with Trustee O'Connor. So if you could repeat after me. I, Rita O'Connor,
I, Rita O'Connor,
do solemnly swear that I will support, go ahead,
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee
of the Village of Long Grove, Illinois,
of the Village of Long Grove, Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right, you're sworn in. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Trustee Michaud. This is so hard to do virtually, by the way.
Do you want me to just read it? I can just read it.
You can, or I can lead you through it. So if you want to go ahead, that's fine.
I'll just go through it.
Okay.
I, Jennifer Michaud, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee of the Village of Long Grove, Illinois, to the best of my ability.
All right, you're sworn in. Congratulations. All right, we'll do the others at the next meeting. Homeowners Association business. Is Lisa Anderson here by any chance from Long Grove Woods, or anyone from Long Grove Woods here? If not, what about from White Oak Estates? Christina Angelos? Christina, are you here? All right, I don't see you. So I know Sergeant Brian Amber is here. And you're muted, but it would be great if you could say a few words to us tonight.
Hi there. How are you guys?
Good. How you doing?
Yeah.
Well, no, not much new to report. Nothing of importance. I don't know if there was any chitter chatter down there about unfortunately, somebody's little doggy got snagged from their yard. And they originally reported to us that they saw a mountain lion in their yard.
Good Lord.
Did you guys hear about that?
No.
So then when the deputies talked to her, she changed her story. She said, oh, maybe it was a bobcat. So because, well, there's a big difference between a mountain lion and a bobcat. And then she said, well, I kind of just saw its butt when it ran away through the woods. So, it is a good reminder for those of you pet owners there that any time of year now, it's coyotes for sure is what it is. So, and they are out there. So just keep an eye on those little critters when they're in your yard. It's sad.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. That's awful. That is awful.
I know how things get around down there, so I didn't want a big scare downtown that there was a mountain lion on the loose.
I mean, I did have a pretty close call with a coyote and my dog a number of years ago. So it got within about 10 feet and I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I scared it away. So
Yeah, for those of you, if you do walk your dogs a lot, they say, just if you want to carry a little miniature air horn with you, then you don't have to try pepper spray or anything like that. And you just hit that little air horn and they'll take off. So, but other than that, not much to report on my end for you. You guys have any questions for me?
any questions?
No, I'm good. How are the little ones?
They're doing good. You should be asking how I'm doing. I'm exhausted. That's my second full-time job, but it's great. They're really cute together now. They can chit chat and chase each other around, so it's fun.
Nice. Keep you on your toes, I'm sure.
Definitely, it keeps me young.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. It's going to be a short visit tonight. And that's a good thing, by the way.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
You too.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. We have 3 special event applications. I'm going to go through them one by one. I did see Dan here. That's the first one on the agenda for the Danish American Language Foundation. That'll be held on August 29th, 2021 at 6754 Indian Creek Road. That's at the Pools landscaping area over there where their business is. So any questions?
No, I'm good. A motion to approve?
Yep, moved by Trustee O'Connor, seconded by
Second,
Trustee Michaud. Roll call, Sherry, if you could.
Sure. Trustee Borowski,
Aye.
Trustee Michaud,
aye.
Trustee O'Connor.
Aye.
Motion
Okay.
carries.
Yeah, I guess it's all yeses. I know, I'm waiting for more.
Thank you.
And Village President, you do have to vote.
I do have to vote to make a quorum. So yeah, ask me to vote, please.
President Jacob.
Yes, motion carried. Dan, thank
So-
you. Is there anything you wanted to say or?
No, we appreciate that. It's about 100 people, so it shouldn't be too, and it's mostly going to be older people. So, should be pretty much under control. Thank you very much for your approval.
No, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. The next one on the agenda is the special event permit application for Cars and Cigars Special Olympics Car Show and Fundraiser. They do this every year with the Kildare Police Department. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Michaud, seconded by Trustee O'Connor. Roll call, Sherry, please.
President Jacob,
Yes.
Trustee Michaud,
Yes.
Trustee O'Connor,
Yes.
Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. The next item is a special events permit application for Brothers Field, right? Food and Wine Fest on June 5th. Any questions?
I just, out of curiosity, is this for anybody who wants to attend? Or is it a private thing?
You know, that's a good question. We'll have to ask because they're only counting on about 100. I thought I saw 120 people throughout the day.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a part of is it part of the dance? Fred Astaire studio, like, you know, like a party for their customers or?
You know,
Okay.
I didn't ask. This is one of the first times I didn't call and ask. So
I'm just curious.
usually I ask Jesse, what is he doing?
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
It
Motion,
does.
motion to approve the application for Food and Wine Fest Brothers Field on June 5th.
Moved by
Second.
Trustee O'Connor, seconded by Trustee Michaud, and another roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
and President Jacob.
Aye. Okay, moving along. Item number 8 on the agenda is approval of the extension of the agreement that we have with our interim manager, Bill Balling. It expired on May 1st. Per the contract, we do have the ability to extend it on a monthly basis. The recommendation was to extend it to July 1st. Any questions or comments?
I have concerns. In I'm concerned about a conflict of interest between us and I believe it's the Village of Round Lake Beach, right?
Yes.
And Bill, I understand your reputation and I understand your background, but it concerns me that on a few levels. One, who gets how many hours a week, and they're looking for a village manager. We're looking for a village manager. If somebody great pops up, who gets recommended? You know, or is there? How would you handle something like that? How could you handle something like that?
If I may, yeah, I think the timing is will protect us right there, because I think we're very close to the selection of our village manager in Long Grove, and Round Lake Beach is about 6-7 months away from that. So there would be a different pool of candidates that would be identified. And I doubt if that would start before the late fall in terms of the search. When I looked at the arrangements, both of the communities are in SWALCO, the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County. I didn't see any direct conflict because of I wouldn't either be the member or the alternate for that group. And I don't think there was, other than being in the county, there's all the mayors are in the Lake County Council of Mayors that filter out the dollar allocations for the highway projects. But that cycle has run already for 2021. And I don't anticipate anything there as well. But I would say that the lack of syncopation between the recruitments will probably deal with any issues that you'll be well along and landed and have the new manager in place before we'd even get the Round Lake Beach one started.
On an everyday basis, I mean, you're, if I'm not mistaken, your agreement with us is 35 hours a week.
Right.
So how is that possible that we would have your attention for 35 hours a week? And would the other contract be the same? And if so, how does that unfold?
The other contract, the Round Lake Beach contract, is transitional, and it speaks to this point that there's two stages in the development. One is the one is the initial stage one, which is when I still am doing work for the Village of Long Grove, and that has a maximum hours provided of I think it's 20 hours a week, maximum of 20 hours, and then that doesn't move to stage two until the Long Grove project closes out. And I explained to them when we put this together that we've got a Long Grove is identified as a primary client, and Round Lake Beach would not have that status until after the Long Grove project closes out. And I'll work a few more hours in other words to meet those requirements.
Okay, I may not have heard properly, so be patient with me.
Okay.
Who gets 20 hours a week? Us or?
No. You're a primary client, so you would, and I'm under contract with you, and Round Lake Beach would be stage one, would be the maximum of 20 hours per week.
They're 20 hours.
Until the Long Grove assignment concludes.
And do you anticipate that ours would be your work with us would be a full 35 hours, or would it be more like 25 or 30?
No, it would be at least 35 hours because, we're really closing out the contract at this point. So it would be the full contractual amount. There'd be no shortcuts there.
So, okay, so I understand and I thank you for your response. Our employee handbook states that our manager can only have that job, that he or she would be prohibited from, dissuaded from having another job. So why would it be different and okay for our interim manager to have another job on the side?
Well, the employee manual doesn't apply for me because I'm not an employee of the village. You've designated me as a contractually to assume the responsibilities of the village manager, but there's no rights or benefits accrued to me under the employee manual, because that's really restricted to employees, of which I am actually a contract worker for the firm.
Well, yeah, okay. And I do understand that level of it. I think the thing that just gives me pause is it gives me pause that there could be a conflict of interest, and it concerns me, and I really don't know how to address that. And I, if it's, and I understand that you're contracted as opposed to being employee. Have you found that working for us takes at least 35 hours a week? Did you find it?
Well, it varies a little bit with some of the night hours that are in meetings, as the meetings are run a little bit longer, but it's easy to park 35 hours a week in this assignment. So, but in terms of the conflict, I would have, first of all, I'd be on watch for that to make sure it wasn't. And then I would share that conflict first with Mayor Jacobs, because Long Grove is a primary client, but also bring it up to Mayor Nichols. So there is a no avoidance. And we've had that discussion in terms of what, that you couldn't create that. You wouldn't want to be in the middle of a conflict of interest issue. And the good part is geography is helpful to us here, because there's a lot of things that they do that are much different in approach than the Village of Long Grove does.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
A question for you, Bill Jacob.
Yes.
What other alternatives have you considered, and why were they dismissed?
What would the alternatives be, Chris?
Well, I'm just asking what other alternatives you've considered.
I have to be honest with you. I have not considered any other alternatives because we've got Bill in place, and it would be disruptive to try to bring anyone else in at this point.
Okay, so to that point, to further that point, Why would we, I guess disruptive, I don't know what that really means really, but why would we not ask current staff to step up for a short period of time and or bring in any other possible candidates who may have been, who have good knowledge of the village and maybe would step in for a month or two, and some perhaps even at at no fee to the village.
You know, we're shorthanded right now, Chris. I don't think it would be to the best of the village's interest to try to bring somebody else in for the next 6 weeks or whatever it is. Or to try to have somebody step up. We're already shorthanded as it is.
If I might, we don't really know that it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks. You know, that's part of my dilemma. We don't know. It could run longer, and may we need to either consider that or plan for it. You know, it could become untenable at some point. And I don't have a solution. I don't have a magic wand or crystal ball or anything, but it could become problematic. And,
I certainly hope that we'll know something shortly where we're going to be headed in the next week or so here.
sure.
So, you know, obviously, if we get to that point, we can start making alternative plans. Bill has always told me that, you know, he's never, you know, a permanent manager. He always has an on-ramp and an off-ramp, and this is his off-ramp. I did check with Village Attorney Filippini about confidentiality and those kinds of things. And so, you know, the agreement covers us there. You know, Bill's committed to finishing out the contract with us. And I have to believe we're going to be in a position soon to hire a new village manager.
And the proposed termination date is when, Bill? You're saying July 1 or?
Yeah,
Well,
July.
I-
What's you
Yeah,
know, you could
I
extend it for a
drafted
month.
it, the agreement, it says you can extend it under the same terms on a month-to-month basis. My expectation is if we make great progress next week in our recruitment interviews and other screenings, you're probably close to that point by the time you get boots on the ground. And then, you know, slight orientations, probably have to cut that down a little bit. So I think that's probably the realistic calendar that you're looking at to get the new manager seated, if you will. Selected is really important. I mean, next week is going to be an important time for us.
I'm struggling with the 55 hours per week work requirement. I'm really struggling with that. I think it's unrealistic to get full energy out of anybody working 55 hours a week in a high stress, high action position. Is there an option to dial our hours down to 20 hours and leave it at the bare bones minimum, whatever that might mean, or some limitation thereof? Some happy place in the middle, or use Bill Balling's management skills and let him delegate to current staff even more. I'm just trying to find a happy place. I don't think anybody's effective after 55 hours of work in a week in high stress, high energy position. I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, what I was trying to do there, Chris, is just respecting the status of Long Grove as a primary client. And when I pitched it to Round Lake Beach, I said, look, I said, you know, we have to close out strong on the issues. But if the village of Long Grove is tolerant to somewhat less than that, and and balancing the hours in the other direction, I could do that. But I think under the agreement, and certainly the expectation I think that the village has, is that this project's going to close out strong. We're going to end up with a new manager, and it's going to be buttoned up real nice for us. So, I think you're probably going to need pretty intense service for the next few weeks to close everything out.
Chris, any other comments?
Yeah, no, I don't know how this vote's gonna go. This one's gonna be interesting. I have no idea.
All right. Jenny, do you have anything?
Chris and Rita have expressed a lot of the same concerns. I do think that 55, I was hoping that, maybe we could dial back a little bit on Bill until, but I realize we are understaffed. We continually get caught in this rock and a hard place, and I guess I'm frustrated. So I'm not, but I'm stuck.
All right. Well,
But
let me ask.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. No, let me ask a follow-up question to Vic, right? So, I mean, we could relieve him of the 35-hour requirement, correct? Per an
We
extended.
have, I mean, he has the ability to dial it back, and we have that same ability. He could also theoretically choose to say, well, if it's not 35 hours, it's better for me to just take the primary assignment to Round Lake, is it Beach?
Yes.
Round Lake Beach. So I mean, I think that that's a matter of discussion. And, certainly we have an ongoing agreement and we are operating under it. I think if the board wants to have this more fully vetted on the amount of time needed and any adjustments, that's something that might be worth reviewing between now and the next meeting. And if there is a happy place, as Chris was saying, that can be reached, that can just be adjusted operationally, and the extension letter can reflect that. I don't know how Bill feels about it. I mean, he obviously has something to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to just finish out very strong for the Village of Long Grove and keep up the same pace that I have been, to wrap up the assignment. So, but if that became a barrier, the contract is open. I still want to finish out, all the issues that need to be completed and, move on. So I think it's set up right, but if, this is a contract extension, so it's subject to discussion by the parties. So
I have a couple more if we have time. Are we okay discussing?
Yeah, we are. We are. Go ahead.
If just, help me figure this out or think it through, I guess is a better way to phrase it. If you knew today that we had a new manager, how long, what would be the amount of time to have a smooth transition?
I think with the right person involved, probably not more than 2 weeks.
And if God forbid, but just help me think this through. If we had no manager, no interim manager for a month, what would that look like?
If we had no manager for
No
1 month?
No interim manager for, in other words, if you said.
Oh, I see. Just with the remaining employees.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of things that I do that are not easily assignable.
Okay.
And there's a lot of just strategic organization and leadership that needs to be assumed by someone. It'd be a lot of pressure on the staff. Staff has worked really hard during this period, and it would be a burden on the staff. I mean, anything could happen, but I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's a good way to finish out.
Sure.
If you wanted to see fewer hours, I mean, I'd rather, have the village consider that. But I think I've got this position right. I think the agreement contemplated it, and the irony of ironies, we'd be very, very close on the original contract if we're able to, in the first round, to get closure on the candidate. So I don't think the village did a bad job in terms of forecasting it, and I think we came up with a pretty good stride. But there was an expectation that we may not be perfect in our completion, and that's why the 30-day increment extensions, came to be.
Sure. My concern is, I don't want the tail to wag the dog with the interviews that we have coming up. What would a 20-hour work week for you look like as far as Long Grove is concerned? Is that sufficient, in your opinion? Is that a sufficient time to get the bills paid, oversee things,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah? Like, for example, and I'm thinking 4 hours, 5 days a week. And I understand that doesn't include board meetings. What would that look like?
Well, I mean, obviously the core tasks would have to be completed. And like I say, you have a very good staff and people are willing to step up as they are able to step up. But your risk would be something wouldn't be met, some deadline wouldn't be met. There's a pretty focused ongoing relationship with our accountants. As a matter of fact, before this meeting started, I just received the pay warrant that we went over probably about 6 o'clock tonight with the accountant. So we have it, the amount, have it in our hands, but that's a fairly tedious process by itself that doesn't have a lot of room and flexibility. It just has to be gotten done. But I mean, the staff is a hardworking staff.
Is that an every week task? I'm not.
Well, it's actually an everyday task, because as the stuff comes in, you gotta code it, prepare it, shoot it to the accountant. They don't like to see it at one time.
I see.
Have them reviewed, and it takes some time to review them. It's just not a matter of stamping them and sending them. You've got to do some follow up with it. So it's sort of an ongoing task. I mean, if we had a finance director, that would be a function of a finance director to make sure that happens. But we don't. So we fill in for what needs to be done. So that's just one illustration. The other illustration is, we do have a retirement coming up shortly. Yeah. And there'll be a information transition transfer that's going to have to happen. There's going to be a recruitment search need to be organized on that position. I would not recommend an executive recruiter, but I would think that the new village manager needs to play a part in that decision. But there will be potentially an overlap point where the retirement will occur, right? It'll be the new manager's first task, but organizing that and getting that ready to go is not an unimportant issue to do. And then there's just some things that, the staff is not, they're not all village managers on staff. They're very good generalists, but there's a lot of things that, come with the amount of experience that I or hopefully your successor manager will bring to the table that pop up every day, all the time. And many of those are significant. And the liaison with our contractors, with our engineers, with our, operating people at ELA, there's just a lot of activities. So, and I want to make sure, I mean, my interest is to make sure that I don't leave the village short with the conclusion of this, of this contract. And like I said, I think we would hit it pretty close. We'd probably be in the transition rotation phase right now. So you really only missed it by a month to 6 weeks. But the contract says, well, roll it out on a month-to-month basis, and I think you'll probably need that into July, depending on the progress we make next week.
Okay, so if I summarize what you just said, it would be that what you see as continuing duties for us would still require a 35-hour work week. Is that correct?
I could, believe me, I could try to throttle it down as much as I can. And, if there was a target or a goal, but there's things that come up all the time.
Sure.
That require attention. So, and I think it's worked out pretty well. It hasn't been that way to the hour. Sometimes it's been a little less because we've had a week that had some inactivity in it. Sure. But I think the contract suggested that you're going to average a 35-hour work week. And I think by and large, that's what we've done.
Sure. I understand.
Okay.
So I guess as we talk it through, my concern is the tail wagging the dog for candidate purposes, upcoming candidate purposes. And stretching this out further than it needs to go, in addition to how do we know when it's going to be over? And the longer it goes on, for whatever reason, the more, to me, it seems the more potential for just time, energy, conflicts, period. And, you know, it seems untenable. I could see it for a couple weeks, but now that sounds unrealistic. It seems like, no, we're not talking a couple weeks, we're talking 6 to 10. Right, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that one of the candidates that we'll be talking to next week could be immediately available, and that'll be to our advantage to evaluate the benefits of rolling it up. I don't think there's anybody, myself included, that wants to extend this contract beyond what the needs and requirements are for the of the village.
Sure, I understand. I don't have any more questions. I kind of feel like we're between a rock and a hard place on this.
I think there's a lot of risk.
I understand how it's evolved.
I think there's a lot of risk in, everyone in not keeping Bill in place right now. If you want to cut back hours, we could, but I just think that just thinking about Christmas with Felicity, right? That all the work that went on, which was a success. I don't know if you saw the newspaper articles on it, but there's a lot of work that Bill had to do behind the scenes to make that happen, right? And just go on to item like that after item like that comes up every day. Somebody's got to do it.
Sure, I understand.
So I don't know if anyone wants to make a motion. We'd have to be unanimous to approve this tonight. Or we can extend it to the next meeting, but I think Bill needs to know what we're doing. So be fair to Bill.
I would make a motion to approve the extension of agreement for interim manager.
All right, that was moved by Trustee Michaud. Is there a second?
Can you second it or not? What's the rule on that?
I have no idea, Vic. Tell me.
No, the chair's not in a position to second, only to vote.
Oh, this is interesting now. No, you know what? I don't want Bill Balling to think he's a rock or a hard place. I think we appreciate his service to this point. So maybe being in the position where we don't have a very super favorable solution to a very challenging situation. I'll go ahead and second that motion, Bill.
Thank you, Chris. And that's a roll call, please, Sherry.
Okay, Trustee Borowski,
Oh, you had to go to me first. Sure. I want to make it really interesting. I'll say aye.
Trustee Michaud,
Yes.
Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
President Jacob.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
Bill.
Thank you.
it. You mean Bill Balling?
Yes, I am. I do appreciate all
Appreciate
you're
it.
doing.
No, thank you.
I
Thank
have a
you.
question for Bill Jacobs. What's preventing us right now from posting for a planner position replacement? I mean, by the time we get a new manager in here, it'll be weeks, if not months. And
We could do that, Chris.
Yeah,
You know what?
why-
We were
why
waiting
don't
for
we
the
do
new
that?
manager to do it. That's what we were waiting for. But we could do it. We could start
Yeah.
now.
I mean, the
We've got
job
the-
description we could draft right now and get posted. I mean,
Actually, we've got that drafted. It just hasn't been circulated yet, Chris. But yeah, that could be accelerated.
I mean, we really should at least get a candidate pool started and get some buzz in the industry talking about it, because otherwise we'll be fighting personnel challenges for the rest of the year.
Mhm.
We have nothing to lose by posting.
Mhm.
I support that, Chris.
Okay,
We-
thank you. I think we should.
Yeah, no, we were waiting for the new manager and we
I
thought
get it.
we thought something was going to happen and it didn't work out. But
Right. No, I get that.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. I don't know how, I don't know if Jeff or Bill want to comment on the next one, that is our water contract is expiring. And Gaywald Hamilton has agreed to keep the pricing the same for the next 12 months.
I would
Yeah,
like
I
to
think
make,
there's gonna-
make a motion.
Oh, okay.
No, just, it's okay.
No. The purpose of the extension is really to give the village some breathing time in terms of what we'll call as a sort of an organized strategy that's gaining some traction, both with our conversations internally and what to do with the future of the water utility, and also the Village of Buffalo Grove's willingness to entertain us as a purchaser of supplied treated water. The operating plant that we have is well run, and Gail Hamilton does a good job. Their staff is experienced, but it's a treatment pumping station, and we do a lot of treatment because we have a groundwater source that's not of the quality that we want to deliver to our customers. We've looked at customer base growth. We've looked at issues of fire flow and redundancy and storage in order to support that type of growth. And we've opened up and actually advanced administrative conversations with the Village of Buffalo Grove on what if you just supplied us a high quality Lake Michigan water, which also gives us the potential to ride on the pressure and storage of the Buffalo Grove system, which is robust. And all of those have gotten thumbs up indications on a staff basis in Buffalo Grove. So our look at what is the future of the utility really says there's a real possibility that we'll get out of the treatment business and we will get into the Lake Michigan water distribution business and have our supplier be Buffalo Grove. And there's really two complicating factors. One is it's not an inexpensive initiative to build not one, but two delivery points that Buffalo Grove believes they need. And I concur with that. One near the Crossing subdivision, one very close to Ann's property up on North Arlington Heights Road. And how do we fund that? And of course, the wild of wild cards here is we have grant applications. Before pre-COVID, we had grant applications to try to secure a grant. But lo and behold, the Village of Long Grove is going to be the recipient of a substantial COVID-related gifting from the federal government. That's going to cover probably half of the costs of the infrastructure necessary in order to do that. So all of a sudden, it became not only a good concept, it became a feasible and realistic concept that would have us supplying purchased Lake Michigan water from Buffalo Grove. So with that in mind, should we wish to consider alternative operating suppliers, if we are successful in pulling that off in the next 12 to 18 months, and I think we certainly can be, that pumping station is going to change substantially. And if you need to get people to bid on it, they're more likely to bid on a pumping station, a treatment pumping facility. Matter of fact, I think it's probably one of the reasons we've never gotten a competitive bid from anybody. We haven't gotten a bid other than from Gaywald Hamilton. That is, I think they respect the relationship overall that they have with the village and see it's a professional responsibility to see us through this thing. So I think if we need to, I think the problem is not the cost problem, and the delivery problem is not the operating costs associated with the pumping and treatment station, but the fact that we have an opportunity to really provide an alternative Lake Michigan water supply, which would greatly elevate and probably promote additional connection points at other areas near and adjacent. If you're delivering Lake Michigan water, that's a lot different than when you're delivering treated water, groundwater. So I think the concept of attention to the water plant is appropriate. I don't see a lot of gain on trying to secure bids, operate a treatment pump station that we haven't had success in getting bids other than from Gaywalt. And I think they're doing it in part because they are in the business, but also because I think they have a value and respect the relationship that they have with the Village of Long Grove. And I think it's working well, for what we have. We do know of deficiencies that we have in the system that need attention, but Buffalo Grove plays a big part in resolving those issues just by being the primary supplier with the robust nature of their system as it exists today. So that's why we're recommending that we extend. Gaywalt was kind enough, and I say that, and not just to be patronizing to Gaywalt, but they said, well, yeah, I said, we're not going to do this for a rate increase. And they said, we're not seeking a rate increase. We see a transition period here, and we'll continue to operate it at the same cost we're operating it today for a year. And that sounds like a good deal from my standpoint. And I think the village should take it, run it again, accelerate the interest in the Buffalo Grove supply and get something programmed once we know the money from the federal COVID money is available. And of course, water system improvements is an eligible COVID related infrastructure that other communities are using. So that's the skinny on the recommendation. And I think it's a sound one. And I think we'll continue to provide good service to our customers. And if we're lucky, in 12 to 18 months, great service to our customers.
Can I ask some questions?
Please, Rita.
I just want to be sure I understand what you've just said. The facility that we currently have is, if it was a pumping station, it would be better than the fact that it's a treatment and a pumping station.
Yeah.
Just briefly, why is that?
Well, we treat for hardness and we treat for radium right now, and those functions could come offline. We would continue to have, and we're required by the EPA to have rechlorination potential.
Yep.
But you'd be able to eliminate that part of the operation.
I see.
Jeff, you may wish to amplify what I just said, but I think that's the long and short of it is it's a much more basic operation if it's simply a pumping station. And it's probably an advantage to us if we are seeking alternate bids.
Okay, and you mentioned water storage. Is that like a water tower? Is that what?
Yeah, I think if you're going to expand that, so, well, right now we're not producing water at a rate that would sustain ourselves long term sort of serious fire breakout, and we've seen indications of that. Most recently with that house fire that we had that burned to the ground. Now, they weren't on water, but the fire companies relied on a tender operation where they filled up right in front of the fire station, did it. And we were getting low flow alarms just filling a 3,000 gallon tender repeatedly to do it. And that's a real serious tell that, we're not storing enough water. It's not the pumps that are coming out into the system. Those are pretty well sized and redundant, but it's the groundwater delivery into those pumps that is the problem.
I see.
Hey, Rita, can I make a question on that, or maybe Jeff can too, because you gotta go all the way back almost 6 years ago, before we had water in the downtown. And the fact that we now have the water in the downtown, there was some evaluation done on fire flows and how much we could handle. And I don't know if Jeff, you were part of that or not, but it may not be, constant on water, but we certainly are in a much better shape now than we were a number of years ago when we had no water in the downtown. So Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to comment on that or not.
Yeah, no, Bill, I know Mike Shrake was involved in the board meetings with that. I'm well aware of all of the discussions, and you are right that we're in a much better position now than we were, 6 years ago. We ran the calculations, and we can provide that first initial burst of fire flows to the businesses. God forbid there's an accident and a fire downtown. And usually that's when it can be most effective. You want to get the water there very quickly, and not have to, rely on, tenders and tankers coming from, adjacent and surrounding fire districts. So that was the impetus on that. And, the storage component was a discussion 6 years ago, much as it is even tonight. And I would add that the Lake Michigan water connection, the basis of that and the way that it was contemplated and would be pursued is that a water connection from Buffalo Grove would fill our at-grade reservoir as fast as we can pump it out. Right now, if there's a fire, we can pump water out of the facility at 3,300 gallons per minute, but we can only fill the reservoir at 700 gallons a minute. So that's going to drain very, very quickly in the current situation, as opposed to when a Buffalo Grove Lake Michigan connection happens. It's coming in and going out, and you can keep feeding the demand for the firefighting operations.
Jeff, why Buffalo Grove and not Deer Park or Palatine or Arlington? Is it just that their pipes are closer?
Absolutely. Buffalo Grove, the connection's a couple thousand feet away. Palatine, any other community, to get it there is going to be a much greater distance.
So it's the distance to our current pumping station that's critical?
Correct.
I see.
Correct.
I see.
Right.
I got it. And how much approximately, I think the numbers we talked about when we did that DCEO grant in December, January, whatever it was, we were talking 4 or 5 million. Was my memory correct on that?
So I just looked that up too, Rita. The DCEO grant, actually this was the Rebuild Illinois grant that we put in in June. We had a price tag of that for the full project of $3 million.
Okay.
So not quite 4.
And that's, I don't know who has the answer to this, but that would be paid by floating bonds. It would be paid over time. How does something like that work?
Well, the village of Buffalo Grove has offered a very workable deal. First of all, if we can get the COVID money committed to that, you probably bought down 30 to 40% of the capital costs. And Buffalo Grove has indicated that they would just surcharge the water rate, and they would take care of the financing, either doing it internally
I see.
or have us do it. So that's a great opportunity for us if we can pull that off and come to closure on that. But it would be, I don't think we would sell a bond. I think we'd hopefully put a bushel basket full of cash as a down payment, and then have a rate structure emerge that would cover the cost not only of the physical building of the extension lines, but also have it debt financed through the supplier.
I see that. And if I'm asking too many questions and it's taking too long, we can talk about this another time. Is it okay with everybody?
Yeah, we should probably, keep ourselves moving, but I think this was to extend the water contract, but we turned it into connecting to Lake Michigan water. But, it is something that we should be talking about if we are going to get that COVID funding. It looks like it's coming through. This is like the once in a lifetime situation. So go ahead.
Can I ask just one more question?
Sure, please.
Just so I can understand better. Damn, now
Sorry, Rita.
No, it's not you, it's me. The Buffalo Grove would charge us probably a little bit more than what they pay, what it costs them, right? I mean, that would be just good business, correct?
Potentially, they've offered us a user rate that's somewhat higher than their retail rate. Now, if they financed it, you would pay the cost of the financing associated with that as well.
Okay, so then that water would primarily service the downtown. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not it's not really residential, it's for commercial purposes, which is fine. And just offhand briefly, and this is my last question, do we know if what Buffalo Grove would charge us is more or less than what we would charge if we were charging everybody at this time?
It's a higher rate. Jeff, we had some rough numbers. I don't know if you have those handy or not. I don't have them in front of me.
So, okay, so back to Rita, your question, and I would preface all of this with, when we were talking to Buffalo Grove almost a year ago on this, we were talking, kind of a draft rough term sheet and kind of the framework of a concept. So last year, the discussions that the former manager and myself had with Buffalo Grove were, Buffalo Grove had a rate of $4.56 a thousand gallons for their residents, and they were going to charge us, $4.50 plus something, right? Because Long Grove was different customers, and then there would be the delta, if you will, which would have been the financing component, and we never locked in anything like that because there was a lot of variables, and there still is to some degree right now.
Right.
But the discussions were always, the Village of Long Grove, the current commercial rate is $10.50 a thousand, and that's the goal here, $10.50 a thousand or less.
I see. So then,
So
Long
we
Grove-
don't know what the current rates are and what the structure is, but those were the discussions last year.
so because of the financing charges, Long Grove would be selling it for more than what we're buying it for.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I don't have any more questions. I just need to understand it better, and I do. Thank you.
All right, so now,
Chris
I
has
guess-
questions.
yeah, Chris, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say,
Thank you.
because we're way off topic here.
Sorry.
Well, not terribly way off. So I guess just to reconfirm through all of that, did we go out to bid or didn't we? That's really my question.
No, I
No bid.
recommended against it, and we're recommending the 1-year extension without bidding it.
Okay, I mean, we were sort of in that rock and hard place position again after doing it again last year. So 2 rock and hard places in a row without really a competitive process is a little bit concerning to me. Next question, does anybody have, or did anybody publish, is there one in my inbox that I missed, any kind of information about what that COVID money amount would look like and what the stipulations thereof are in terms of how we get to use it?
Yeah, so it's close to $1 million. We're still trying to understand. We're just getting the information now. There's some information coming out, but it was the estimate was about $1 million. And then the water infrastructure, it seems to be one of those items that it would qualify for.
What are the other items that it would qualify for? Do we know?
Where do I have it?
Well, I don't need it now, Bill, but I guess I don't have it. So when Bill says we're going to build a water infrastructure for downtown, I mean, if we're going to get $1 million that we'd use somewhere else, my intention is to do something different with it.
No, I don't think we have very limited that we can use it for, and water would be one of those things that we could use it for. And I don't have it in front of me. I didn't plan on having a discussion about a water main extension tonight. I thought that we had an item on the agenda, which was solely to extend the water contract. And so I'm not prepared to have this discussion, just so you know, Chris.
Fair enough, Bill.
I know a lot more about this than you think. So.
Oh, I'm sure you do, but my issue is I don't, and that's why I'm a little bit concerned that we're connecting up water to Buffalo Grove to service, I don't know, 50 clients, where maybe that $1 million could be used elsewhere to service 8,000 residents. So I appreciate any information you can share.
Yeah, we'll get that information to you. What they provided, I know I shot some emails out a few months ago, right? And
yeah, I remember your preliminary email. Yeah,
and we're just starting to get some information this week, but we have nothing concrete yet, right? So.
Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate that. I was just wondering if I missed something or if I didn't have it.
No, you didn't.
Okay, thank you.
It's been quiet since those emails until this week. We started to see things come out. So.
I see. Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that.
I would make a motion to approve a resolution approving an agreement with Gaywalt Hamilton and Associates Water Service Operator Services for the Village of Long Grove Public Water System through April 30th, 2022.
Second,
Okay, moved by trustee Michaud, seconded by trustee O'Connor. Sherry, you're muted. If you could take a roll call vote, that would be awesome.
Okay, trustee O'Connor,
aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
President Jacob,
Aye.
trustee Borowski.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. I am going to, and I don't even see the petitioner here tonight either, but
President Jacob, on the Phillip Estate matter, I did contact the attorney when I learned of the reduced attendance of the board members this evening. And because of the fewer number, they have asked that they have this matter continued to the next meeting.
I approve that request, as I think it's the right thing to do, as I have the ability to do that. In fact, thank you. And I'm also suggesting that we skip on the next item too. But what we should do is at least, Vic, maybe you can take us through the changes to the contract that we had with the Buffalo Creek Forest Preserve. But I think we should defer this item for formal discussion until we have the full board here.
I'd be happy to, am I on mute?
You're not muted.
Okay. I'd be happy to do that. The original contract that the board approved back in October was for the village to contribute monies to acquire landscaping and installation of the landscaping for Buffalo Creek, essentially to protect the Country Club Estates homes that had lost much of the screening when the work was done at Buffalo Creek. Country Club Estates had agreed, as I understand it, to pitch in half of the $30,000 that the village was going to be obligated to do. And the village also offered an easement for parking because of the limitations of parking for those who wish to use Buffalo Creek. We were going to be giving them an easement over the a portion of the parking lot serving the soccer fields. That was approved by the village board back in October. It was provided to the Forest Preserve and the Lake County DOT. And it did take some time before we got any kind of response. But ultimately, the Forest Preserve District indicated that they were not interested in any kind of parking opportunities at this time. I think they were concerned about the maintenance obligations that would entail, and they didn't know that the utilization of the Buffalo Creek Preserve was going to be sufficient to warrant the related obligations for that easement. So the agreement that came back is what's in the packet, and it is essentially just the landscaping elements of it. Some parts of that have changed, but it's more a matter of the timing for payments than anything else. But it is, at least as far as I could tell, and I don't know if anyone at Urban Forest Management had an opportunity to give a deep dive on the exhibit, the landscaping plan, but the materials are the same in terms of quantity, type, and relative planting size. I don't know if they have been tweaked at all in terms of the location of the plantings. I think the biggest change in terms of the planting aspect of it is that the Forest Preserve was unwilling to affirmatively agree to maintain the landscaping that's installed beyond the 1-year guarantee period. So that's, I think, in large measure, the difference between what we had approved back in October and what was presented back to the village quite recently.
Yeah, it's also very different from, financially very different from what we were offered 2 years ago.
I don't remember what the
Yeah,
deal was 2
no,
years
it's the
ago.
same, it's the
The
same.
deal is the same as, financially, the deal is the same as what was approved last October, except for the timing of when payments would be made by the
95%,
village.
yeah, upfront now.
Two,
First.
no, but two years ago, when they were still working over there, they asked us if we would make a contribution. And that request was in the it was not $90,000. It was in the neighborhood of 25 or 30.
That's all they're asking us to do is 30,000.
Where's the 60,000 for planting coming from?
The county's paying for 30 of it. We're paying 30 of it, and the Forest Reserve is paying
For the material.
materials.
So this is not a $90,000 contract. This is a total of.
It's what we approved the last time.
The work is a $90,000 of estimated work. The village share is the 30.
Got it. Okay,
And split between the CCE and us,
Got it.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
they've agreed to do it. And they
okay,
also said that they don't have a problem paying the 15,000 all up front. too.
right. Okay, good. That's good. Yeah, the way I read what we have in the packet is it was 30 plus 60.
Nope, it's the same thing that we
Super. Okay, cool,
basically agreed to.
great. Okay,
But I think we should defer that until we're all here unless, because I think that'd be a smart thing.
Why do you think there's opposition?
What'd you say?
Well, yeah, because we don't get the easement.
We don't get the easement. I just think we should talk about it, with everyone here.
Ah.
so.
I see. Okay,
But I mean, if somebody wants to,
And just for clarification, we would be giving the
Giving
easement,
the
not
easement.
getting. Right,
Understood. We don't get agreement on the easement.
right.
right?
Yeah.
I still think there's one open item that we could use a little more time on too, and there's the plant warranty
Yeah.
as well. So I think by not making the decision, maybe we can go back and, push it a little bit. So we put it on the agenda for visibility to all too, so you're aware of it. Because literally we approved it back in October of last year. And Vic, when did you just get this? About 3
We got
weeks ago?
this the 26th of no, I'm sorry, the 20th of April.
Yeah, so about 3 weeks ago or so.
Yeah.
So crazy. So
COVID, maybe.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I know. Maybe not.
so
It is kind of weird that they would plant and not warranty beyond the year.
I think that's pretty customary for the Forest Preserve District. They
Okay.
have been, in my experience, generally unwilling to have any ongoing expenses. They've most of the funds that they've gotten have been for acquisition, and
Yeah.
they're hoping nature takes its course, and they don't have a great operating budget in terms of maintenance of the areas that they have.
I understand. They've got some really nice stock that they're willing to put in there, as far as the trees are concerned, bur oaks and things, so.
And I think one of the points that Bill was just mentioning is that a deeper dive into that material to see what its likely survivability will be
Mhm.
if it meets, if it gets past the 1 year guarantee period, may make this either more or less attractive, but I don't think that deep dive has been done.
Right, okay. Got it.
I recommend deferring it. Hopefully we can have some better answers in 2 weeks. So.
Okay.
All right. So moving on to the next item is the trustee reports. Now I was on and off in the EDC meeting this morning, so there was a lot talked about. I know there's some things that were asked about. There's a flyer on the TIF and getting feedback on that. I don't think there's enough of us here that can comment on it tonight, but I don't know if if Roger or Rita, if you want to make some comments. I know that there was a speaker at the end that did a great job of talking about the marketability of our property and
Yeah, he
uses and
did.
so forth.
You
Yeah.
did. Yeah, you did a great job. I'll defer to Roger if he's here and would prefer to, or I'll take it, whatever. What are you comfortable with, Roger?
I don't think there's really that much to say to the shortened board groups that we've got. I think our plan is to put together a little bit more formal report about the things that we gained from the broker. He's with C.B. Richard Ellis, which is one of the largest commercial brokers in this area, and shared a lot of insight that I would rather put in writing and share with the trustees than rely upon the ear-to-ear communication. So if that's okay, we'll just put the package together. We circulated the TIF. It was a response to some suggestions that Trustee Kissmeyer had, and it's just really a question of how aggressive or aggressive actually is the word, the trustees would like the TIF brochure to be. It's rather simple, and we tried to circulate it so everybody can take a look, but next time, after everybody's had a chance to look at it, hopefully you can give us some guidance about if we're going in the right direction. That's it, I think, for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I noted that you had an agenda item about, there's a CRM software, a free one. So you want to make sure that there was buy-in on that. And from the village staff, I think is what I heard. So plus the board. So that's something that, you know, we
That's
should
another,
get.
let's get a new manager and then talk with them.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a great idea, but
Yep. Then you talked about the TIF brochure. So I think that's, you know, and I was, like I said, I was in and out. So, but I thought it was a really good meeting this morning. So the part that I was able to attend, and sorry, I was incognito. I tried to introduce myself at the beginning, and then I was in and out trying to do my day job. I had a couple meetings I did attend to, but I was listening. So
Were you able to hear much of what Brian had to say?
yeah, I did. I heard a big chunk of what Brian had to say about uses for the property being
Yeah,
very specific and broadcasting what that use might be. There is also somebody that was interested in developing something and being advised against doing it due to the difficulty in working with the village and what they have planned. So there were some interesting comments I heard and, you know, about some of the uses and things. So I know that's one of the things that Roger said he wanted to document.
yeah. Okay.
So
Some of it was disappointing to hear,
um,
but then again, it's only his opinion and it's only.
yeah, that's right. You hit the nail on the head. That's from a salesperson's perspective, right? You know what I mean?
Well, that doesn't make him a bad person, but.
No. I didn't mean that he was giving bad advice. I just mean, you know, if you did this, it would be that much easier, right? You know what I mean? So that's all.
Well, sure, and you know, he reported on what's hot today,
Right.
and we all know that since the Garden of Eden, it's ups and downs and sideways. So, whatever.
Yep. So, all right. Anything else on that? Trustee Michaud, we did your report today. So
Thank you very much. I was sorry to miss it. I should be there in the next meeting. So
no
thank you.
worries at all.
You report better than I did just now, but we'll give you a second chance next week, next time.
I could report on my doctor's appointment if you want.
I hope it went well, but you don't need to report on that, please. All right. So are there any other trustee reports for tonight
No, Jeff's going to take the lion's share of
in
roads.
his engineer report? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to, if everyone's okay, Chris, are you okay moving on? Or
Yeah,
you-
let's move on.
All right. So, you know, are we did anyone look at the pay warrant?
Nope.
Bill, what do we do on that?
Actually, Bill, I just, I circulated it when the conversation was going on. It did come in. It totals $301,310.70. And the warrant is, when you were discussing other issues, I was reviewing it to make sure that it was consistent with what the accountant and I talked about late this afternoon. So I think it's in order, but it's up to the board because we got it very late tonight.
If we don't approve it, are we getting bills paid in jeopardy?
Well, you'd be 2 weeks later than you are, and some of them, you know, because we only pay monthly, some of them do run late. We do get sometimes, late notices.
All right, so how does the board feel about approving it with any provisional concerns being brought up after the fact, like we did the last time?
Yeah, I mean, I can hold checks for a couple of days. I'd like to get them out the end of this week though, so they could, they're in the mail. But I can instruct the accountant to hold the checks for 1 or 2 days, give the board a little more time to look at it if they had any issues. And then I could pull an individual bill off and process that later.
I'm looking at it. I don't see anything that pops up as being weird, and I don't want to be late on our bills. So I'm okay approving it tonight.
Okay,
Yeah,
everybody else?
I agree. I'm okay with that. I haven't seen it. I'm
Looking at it now.
depending upon, you and Bill to say if it's accurate.
It doesn't look inaccurate to me, but Chris, did you look at it? Did you look?
Yeah,
at
I'm
it?
looking at it right now, Bill. Yeah, to your point, I don't really see anything unusual.
Does anyone want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by trustee Michaud,
Second,
by trustee O'Connor. That's a roll call, please, and you're sure you're muted?
Okay, President Jacob,
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor,
aye.
Trustee Michaud,
Aye.
and Trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you.
The next item is the approval of the meeting minutes from the April 14th, 15th, and 17th meetings. These are I think these are all the meetings to start the special meetings, right?
Yes, I believe that's the case.
Any questions on them?
No,
No, I would make a motion to approve all.
Okay, that was moved by trustee Michaud, seconded by
second.
trustee O'Connor.
Mm.
Roll call.
Trustee Borowski,
Aye.
Trustee Michaud,
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
President Jacob.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, Jeff, you're up.
So the 27th was not included in that?
No, they weren't.
Okay, all right. You do have them, Bill, or do you not know that you have them?
Bill Balling, that is right.
I will double check that. Amy, you remember sending those to me?
I did. It was just yesterday, but it was like
okay.
yesterday morning,
Okay.
I believe. So, okay, you do. They are
If
in
you
your
send them to
inbox,
me,
so-
I've got them and I'll put them on for approval at the next meeting.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, Jeff Perry, would you please provide
All
us an
right.
update? Yep.
So taking you through the engineer's report, want to highlight a few things from the report that's in your packet. First of all, North Kruger Road, we had a great public outreach meeting last Wednesday night at the Woodlawn School parking lot. Great turnout, and it was a great evening for the meeting. From the standpoint, it didn't rain. It was a little chilly, but we made it through. So a lot of great questions, a lot of great public input. Since the meeting, the contractor is mobilized to the site, and they're going to be installing their soil erosion and sediment controls this week, which is mainly silt fence. And after that, they're going to proceed with the tree removals and then the underground storm sewer work. As reported at the meeting last Tuesday night, the detour for the project is anticipated to be in effect from June 7th to July 17th. During that time, there's going to be construction activity. Everybody's going to be asked to follow the detour, and there will be a lot of signage that says no through traffic. So as reported last Wednesday night, any residents that live along Kruger Road will be able to get in and out of their subdivision and their driveways. There may be sometimes they're asked to go one way versus the other. And like every construction project, we ask for patience in advance. So it will be disruptive, but the contractor is scheduled to be done with the lion's share of the work by the end of July, with final completion in mid-August. Skipping down to items 4 and 5, the covered bridge continues to sustain damages every once in a while. The last May 5th, there was a car that glanced the northwest column of the bridge. Carmichael Construction is going to repair both of those. We're waiting on a quote to address the damage to the column facade, if you will. And when they're out there, they're going to make the repairs from April 9th, which is when the U-Haul struck the west side of the bridge cover. I will skip the Stemple parking lot for now. We'll get back to that. The drain tile survey, Martin Estates and Martin Woods. We're nearing Huddleston McBride getting out there to get that. We've been fortunate that we haven't had a lot of rain, which helps the residents on the north side, specifically 3255 Mayflower. But as you can imagine, as we go through the year, the faucet, proverbial faucet may turn on at some point. So we need to get Huddleston McBride out there. So we're moving forward on that. The other drainage item that we have talked about at the last couple meetings is the Lake Eleanor Estates drainage. The village got a proposal from American Underground to clean and televise the storm sewer outlet pipe from the big lake that's in the middle of the subdivision there. And the village authorized that and is going to complete the work under a reimbursement type agreement. The drainage pipe is not owned at all by the village, but you know, being the person that we've kind of spearheaded this, trying to get the HOA moving on different things, we used our contacts to get the proposal for this. The Lake Eleanor Estates Homeowners Association has agreed to reimburse their share of that work. And also Ela Township has agreed to reimburse the village for the portion of the pipe that's on their property. The third portion of the property is on Pools Nursery. I have yet to contact and speak to the right individual to work out that reimbursement agreement, but I'm confident.
You know, we had him on the call tonight.
Oh, do we?
We did. He left. So,
Oh,
his number is in the app. You can probably call him. He's
okay. Okay.
I believe that's the right guy.
And who was that, Bill? I missed him.
It was Dan, but what's his last name? It's Dan.
It's Danish. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, Sherry, please say that. I know who you're talking about now, because I jotted down the name.
I think it starts with a K.
Okay, so I will reach out to Dan then.
Yep, he approved it. Where did it go? I have to print it out the app, so I can't find it. But it's his phone number, I believe, is in the application for the event that we approved. So
okay, I'll track that down and give him a call.
Yep.
Very good. I like that. So
here it is.
So we'll get that worked out. Still also working on the scheduling with American Underground to get out there. We should be out there in the next couple weeks. Let's see, moving on, number 17. This is the sanitary sewer spill that happened 18 months ago. The county, probably starting in June, July-ish, will be doing some work over there to make some redundancies to their facilities to help mitigate that from happening again. The next item 18 is the force main on Robert Parker Coffin Road. We talked about that at the last board meeting. Still waiting on the design plans from the county for that routing. I do know that it is moving forward. Next item, you may have noticed some work crews or pavement markings on Route 83. The state, the Illinois DOT that is going to be completing some patching and restriping of 83 all the way from Buffalo Grove up to Route 45. That's a fairly lengthy contract. It's started, and talking with IDOT, they do not expect that to be done until this fall. So again, on behalf of IDOT, I would say construction projects are disruptive, so patience is appreciated. The other item I would like to just give a brief update on is number 23. That's the berm over at the country club. The applicant, the contractor, is having some difficulty securing their performance bond for the completion of the work over there. I've actually got a conference call with the contractor and the surety company tomorrow morning to kind of work that out. I think there's just a difference of opinion as far as what the contractor has to do, stemming from the word corrective work, and the surety company is usually bonding new construction projects. So I think it's just something we need to talk through tomorrow morning. But if anything goes amiss from that conference call, I will certainly keep the village apprised. So with that, if there's anything that there's any questions on, I will do that. I know there's a couple other items that I'm gonna go through on the next couple agenda items.
Hey Jeff, Chris, quick comment, question. Diamond Lake Road is marked up for something, patching, repairment. I don't know, repairment, that's a word my kid used to use. Some kind of repair, it's marked up. So 83 is marked up and Kruger shut down, with our detour route for Kruger being 83. Any concerns?
Well, I guess the short answer is I'm not concerned with the work on 83. It's a fairly lengthy contract. It's going to be very sporadic work. I do not know what is occurring on Diamond Lake Road, but I can certainly reach out to the county to see what they can tell me on that.
Yeah, I think if all three of them are kind of, luckily there's not a lot of traffic, but even so, I just concerned that.
Yeah, you got three north-south roads.
Right, it's the only way around town, right? You can't get through, right? So, yep. Just saying. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it if you looked into it.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, do you see your picture up there?
I do. I do.
Are you
I'm
giving
not
church
sure.
service or something? Or what are you doing?
I'm not sure what my hand halfway up there in that fashion is, but that's okay.
You did a nice job. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I sent you a text, or not a text message, an email with the section of the special event app that has Dan's contact information. I believe he's the guy you want to talk to. So.
Okay, great. I will give Dan a call. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So are you done with your, any other questions on your engineer's report? Can we move to the Phil 50 certification? And I'm probably going to let you do the explanation, but on this one.
Okay. So just as a kind of a brief run up, January 12th, we talked about the amended Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance, and it was approved by the board. And one of the amendments to the new Watershed Development Ordinance is known as Phil 50. And what this is a fee in lieu, hence the Phil, for developers or applicants to pay for the stormwater detention up and above the 50-year storm. The regulatory stormwater detention is for the 100-year storm. And with the new WDO, Watershed Development Ordinance, the regulatory rainfall went up about 30%. So Stormwater detention basins under the new watershed development ordinance would be 20% bigger. The county had put this amendment and provision into the ordinance. And I will say that the regulatory rainfall for this 50-year storm is still higher than what it was under the old ordinance. So detention basins now, if they're built to regulations for the 100-year storm, are going to be 30% bigger than they would have been before under the former WDO. Under a 50-year storm, detention basins will still be about 16, 17% bigger than they were under the old WDO. So as we talked about in January, this is a program that's in the ordinance, and Long Grove has a decision whether they want to be certified to administer this program or allow the county to do this. So before I get into the difference there, I will say that the Phil 50 program, there's not a site in the county that automatically qualifies for this program. Every site is evaluated, and it's up to the enforcement officer to determine if Phil 50 is applicable. Puts some burden on developers, but also the enforcement officers to look at potential developments and what is, for lack of a better term, is the impacts of allowing a Phil 50 for the development. So I mentioned that Long Grove has the option to be certified or not. If Long Grove is not certified, applicants can still be eligible for this program at the discretion of the enforcement officer, which is myself. If Long Grove is not certified, the monies collected for the Phil 50 go to the county, and the county can use monies collected by Long Grove projects anywhere in the Des Plaines River watershed. As opposed to if Long Grove is certified for Phil 50, Long Grove can collect the funds locally and use them within the village for stormwater projects. There will be an audit process that the county every year will ask, what did you collect, when, where, how, and then kind of the similar questions of where was it spent, just to kind of keep that documentation. So in terms of numbers, in the Des Plaines River watershed, the fee schedule for a fee in lieu is $91,000 per acre foot. An acre wide, foot deep is the volume of water, $91,000. Just because I looked at this earlier today and kind of talked through it with Rita, say for example, Phillip Estates, they're going to be required to have 17 acre feet of detention. Okay, so under Phil 50, they would be providing, maybe half of that, right? 50 to 100, and that's 8.5 acre feet. Multiply that by $91,000. That's some real money, almost $750,000. So it is significant, but like I say, there's no project that's going to be automatically eligible for Phil 50. And as I recall in January when we were talking about this, just to the point of no project being automatically eligible, I remember Trustee O'Reilly said that and suggested that the village board also approve if a project is recommended for the program. So I think that's a good idea. I also think that Long Grove becoming a certified community to administer Phil 50 will benefit the village and offer them the most flexibility and developments. And if there is money collected, keeping that money in Long Grove. So what's before you tonight is the petition. If it's if it's approved, what happens is the petition gets signed by Village President Jacob and the clerk. We submit that to the county. The county then reviews the applications and the petitions, and pretty much against kind of a barometer, hey, you know, who's the enforcement officer? What's the track record of Long Grove? And, you know, are they confident that Long Grove can successfully administer this program? Which I have no doubts with, because Long Grove's been certified for a long time. And every time they need to be recertified to enforce even the county ordinance, we pass that as well.
So Jeff, and maybe for Vic too, we basically, if we want to collect funds for the Phil 50, if we decide to do so, we have to have this petition signed.
That's correct.
It's a
So-
threshold. It's not, excuse me, it doesn't guarantee us the money, but it gives us the opportunity to pursue it.
So we've done everything else up to this point. This is the next step to get us, to put us in a position, if we ever decided to qualify somebody for Phil 50, we would be able to do that and keep the money if so be it.
Correct.
And Jeff, you're already certified to determine this?
So,
Am I hearing
yeah,
that?
I am designated as the village's enforcement officer, correct?
Our benchmark is still the Phil 100, right? This would be an aberration from that, correct?
Yeah, all applications when they come in are to be Phil 100. I like the term. But if there's a request for Phil 50, that's when additional documentation and discussions would start.
And that's because it's, as we said today, it would be more financially feasible for the developer as opposed to complying with the requirements for a 100-year flood, 100-year rain. Right?
Correct.
To buy their way out. Yeah, okay.
Again, it's the way I understand it. We've come this far. This is the final step
Yep.
in the process right now. Otherwise, we probably didn't have to do all the things we did prior, right? Am I saying that right?
The village would have had to adopt the new watershed development ordinance in January to remain certified to enforce, I'll call them the general stormwater regulations. This is just this is the final step for that particular amendment that's new this time around for this Phil 50.
Got it.
So do we need to make a motion for
We
that?
do need to make a motion, yeah.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Michaud. Roll call, please.
President Jacob,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Borowski,
Yes.
trustee Michaud.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Jeff, you have one more update, I think. Oh, you're
Well-
gonna be on for a little bit. Should we skip this one?
I was
until
hoping
before-
one more. I think I've got two more things.
Yeah,
though.
you do. You have two more. Do you want to do, should we skip the MS4 until everyone's here, or?
You know, I think that we can go through it. There's no action required. This is the requirement by the state to present the village's MS4, which is basically their stormwater discharge program, in a public forum to highlight water quality, which Long Grove is very in tune with water quality and very sensitive to that. And to that, I commend the village for that. I guess I would like to go through it if we can.
Yeah,
if
please
we
go
need
ahead.
To give some, give an abbreviated discussion at the next board meeting. I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay. Let's see. You want me to bring it up, or you want me to?
If you could, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I can find it. There we go. Share my screen. Sure. Okay, I can make this bigger if you want.
That would be great. Okay, so moving on to the slide there. So the MS4 is municipal separate storm sewer system. So nobody likes to say that, so we do it MS4. This is a unfunded mandate by the IEPA required for villages and municipalities and townships that discharge stormwater within their districts. So the MS4 program has three components, and they're listed on the next slide. Is a stormwater management plan, a tracking process, and then an annual report. So this all starts with the Illinois general permit, which then the village petitions or applies for coverage, which we did early this year. The state permit's good for 5 years. They just updated it in March of this year, and the village applied for coverage, which was approved. So that's good. The MS4 program, as I said, first component of that is a stormwater management plan. The village prepared the stormwater management plan in February 2017, and that's good for 5 years. That's the plan and the guide rails, if you will, for the village to pursue water quality. A lot of water quality components are defined for us, and the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission helps us with their watershed development ordinance. Throughout the years, there's been a lot of emphasis put on water quality from the standpoint of both hydrocarbon removal, bioswales, green infrastructure, and also runoff volume reduction controls. Stormwater management plan, as I mentioned, was 2017. We're anticipating that the IEPA will request that to be updated by the village next year, which would be at the end of the 5 years. So we won't get into that today, but that is coming. Inside the stormwater management plan is what's known as 6 minimum control measures. So the village is required to do public outreach and education, public involvement and participation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site stormwater runoff control, post-construction stormwater management, and pollution prevention, good housekeeping for municipal operations. We help with, actually we help with all of these. I know that the slide says primarily 3 and 6, but the first couple are very important, the public education and involvement. That's why as the newsletters come out, if I get the opportunity and I can relay different reminders for residents, for example, to keep their driveway culverts clean and keep their grass growing so there's no barren soil. Those are the types of things that are paramount to public education. The third thing, this illicit discharge and detection, it's pretty much a complaint-driven system. If a resident of Long Grove sees something entering the waterway that's not supposed to be there, maybe a bluish sheen on the water, something of that nature, they call the village, and the Lake County Watershed Development Ordinance has the procedures that we follow, that we go out there, we investigate it, report it to the IEPA as needed, and then track it to the source so that way that can be cleaned up. All in the vein of improving water quality, not only in the village, but the Des Plaines watershed as well. So we make sure we track these. Long Grove is doing a great job, as I mentioned, water quality. We are meeting or exceeding all of these minimum control measures. So at some point, give yourselves a pat on the back. So that's great. And then the next slide I have, Bill, is just kind of a recap that, we submitted a notice of intent. That's how the village gets permit coverage under the general state permit. this slide just reiterates what I said. It's going to be good for another 5 years. So in 5 years, we'll have to submit that application again. The next slide, next steps. So as mentioned previously and when we were discussing Phil 50, our office, myself specifically, is named as the enforcement officer. So we're going to continue to implement the stormwater prevention plan and all the best management practices. Also coordinate with the village manager just to make sure that the contractors that are working within the village are properly trained. The biggest thing is what's listed here. Snow removal contractors, making sure that they're up to speed on sensible de-icing and not getting too much salt on the roads, because that's bad for the environment. And then past that to for some of the record keeping in the hold on, go back up there. Very good, that's good. Some of the next steps, just to make sure that we're tracking everything for the village and getting the good housekeeping. We've started doing dry weather outfall inspections in the village, and then also later this year we're going to be doing stream banks and detention basin inspections. So I know last year we talked about this notion of chemical testing and visual testing. Jenny, if you remember, and the inspections that we do are primarily visual. Obviously, if we see something, that kind of kicks in the illicit discharge protocol, we sample, send it in, and things like that. The other thing that's new is Long Grove is now a member of the Des Plaines River Watershed Work Group. So the DRWW for short. Does a lot of chemical analysis, and we are able to use the data that the DRWW collects in the annual reports for Long Grove. So we get the data from the DRWW. We can use that to meet the minimum control measures and demonstrate the compliance, but do not have to go through the expense of doing the chemical treatment, testing on our own. So we'll be doing that here this fall in summer, and we'll make sure that we get the IEPA by June to maintain our good standing with them. So just to wrap it up, if there's any questions, certainly you can ask myself, but Michael Warner, he was actually the former executive director at the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission. He is now on staff with Gaywald Hamilton Associates. He is more than knowledgeable to answer any question stormwater related that you might have. So I've got his information on this last slide here.
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I just wanted to make sure. So you say you only test chemically if you see something that looks weird, but the water is tested by this other, no matter what, and that.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
And then just, are we watching the salt issue on Buffalo Creek? Because last winter we had a huge pileup of sand or salt right by the bridge. I know that coming away from the church down to the bridge is a tricky spot, but have we discussed at any point switching to part sand and salt around, by the water?
Bill Balling, I did not have any of those discussions
Yeah.
with Lester's.
Yeah, I've not had discussions with Lester. Obviously, we could, and the other one that's gaining promise is beet juice, which is more organic. And that's been used in certain applications that has worked. But clearly having I don't think they, I don't think they overuse salt, but I have not had a conversation with them. And I do know that we can anticipate in future years with some degree of global warming that we're going to do a lot more salting because we're going to have those fringes where it would otherwise go to snow and it'll otherwise be slush and ice in those periods if it's just a little bit warmer in January all the way through March. So it is an issue. And I think one of the things we should do is sit down in the summer, fall with Lester and develop a salting plan and see what his options are. Sand, I'm not a great fan of sand mix, only because it becomes a maintenance nuisance and almost demands a sweeping program. You really have to get rid of it and get it out of there. So, but I think that's a good recommendation, Jenny, in terms of getting Lester to sit down and kind of set forth the parameters at the start of the season, so we have a better understanding what that is. And the most sensitive areas around the creek, I think, are a good target.
Yeah, I noticed last year there was quite a bit of salt and it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing, Jeff, is one of the things, like, so our neighbor did a treatment for algae, and they way over poured whoever they contracted it, and it actually killed, because we had a storm, the water overfilled their pond and drained through our property and literally killed a swath of greens. So I think I would really, as part of this education program, I think we need to make sure people are, if they're contracting to have their ponds treated for algae, that they're doing it at the right rate, and that people know that the consequences of this go downstream. Because we have an endangered wetland that we're trying to manage. So
That would be a great piece for a newsletter bit. So
where's Bobby when we need her? But I'll
I
send her
know,
in.
I was going to say Bill Balling is taking notes, and I know
Yeah.
that they've got their meeting, tomorrow morning on the
Yeah,
newsletter. So
yeah, we'll make sure that gets on our agenda in terms of topics to be addressed.
Thank you.
Jeff, what's an outfall?
and outfall is the end of a pipe. So like
Okay,
you get a detention basin, it all goes through a pipe, and where that pipe ends is the outfall.
got it. Thank you.
All right, I'm thinking silence. We can move on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much, Jeff. Chris, you okay with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So the next item talks about getting a bid out, authorizing a bid for the Stemple parking lot improvements. So Jeff, you're going to be put to work again. Is there something you want me to show, or?
If you've got those the two plans at the ready, that would be great. But I can start with the run up while you're looking and getting those. So the Stemple parking lot, as the village is aware, is in bad condition, and something needs to be done about it. The village last year put this project out for bid to resurface the parking lot to a depth of 5 inches to get another 20 years out of the parking lot for service life. That project was exactly what I said, is taking out 5 inches of pavement, putting 5 inches of pavement back in. The only thing that was added to that project was taking out some of the telephone pole bollards that are in the parking lot that after it's redone and restriped, they would no longer be needed. So that was the project that we got bids for last year, and that project was kind of shelved for a few different reasons. One being we were waiting on the funding from the state through the DCEO grant, which as of a couple of weeks ago, that's moving forward. Actually had some communication with the DCEO. They were asking some more specific questions and moving towards the grant agreement stage. So we're hopeful that we get that here in the next couple of weeks. So we want to take this thing back out to bid. The bids that we've got last year are expired, and things have changed in the last 12 months. So what we want to do at this time is rebid the project. And we want to bid this in 2 ways. We want to bid the project with, let's call this the base bid. And this is the plan that's shown in front of you here, which is removing the telephone pole bollards, removing 5 inches of asphalt and putting 5 inches of asphalt back. The project that was included in the village budget, and we're projecting an all-in cost of just under $430,000 for this. We also want to prepare, and Bill, if you could move to the next set of plans.
Jeff, does that also include the railroad ties around the trees would those stay there? Would those come out too?
Under the base bid, those would stay there.
Okay.
Under the base bid, those would stay there. The parking lot geometry wouldn't change, and the lighting would also not change.
Okay.
The alternate bid will include those things. Bill, if you can go to the next, just scroll down to the next page. So this alternate bid includes what's called the amenity package, if you will. So this project is removing and replacing 5 inches of asphalt. It's removing the telephone pole bollards. It's also reconfiguring the lot. And with that, you get a couple things. You get curbed islands instead of the landscape timber islands, which have required quite a bit of maintenance over the years. And also, this plan includes new parking lot lighting that is the same design as poles, that is, with the Archer parking lot. So you get curved islands, you've got new lighting, you've got more maneuverability. And I would call out at the bottom left of this picture, this incorporates 6 spots that are almost twice as wide as a normal parking spot. So Bill, if you can pan to the left there, just above where your cursor is. So you've got up just a little bit. Okay, so you've got 6 spots that are 15 feet wide, and you've got a contrasting horizontal stripe through those. So those 6 spots could serve as either 6 bus or RV parking spots, or they can serve as 12 regular parking spots. This plan also includes the conduit to service the future electric car charging stations and the car charging stations. So you've got 2 conduits, one to each island, end island here that's got the curb around it. So you get a conduit to each of those islands that can be used to feed the electric car charging stations. So this configuration in this project, we had an all-in cost of $780,000 for. That's what we were estimating, and that includes all of the amenities that I listed. So just kind of breaking that down a little bit, to reconfigure the lot and do the curbed around the perimeter and some new landscaping, all in. And there's a lot that goes into that, but in that bucket's about $120,000. The lighting improvements for the parking lot are about $140,000. The conduit for the future car charging stations, we've got $20,000 for that. And then there was also a discussion that Bill Balling and I had about putting some lighted bollards in the middle access drive out to Old McHenry Road. Yep, exactly. And we had $30,000 in there for that. So that explains, the delta between the base bid and the alternate. So what I suggest for tonight is and request the village to authorize going out to bid for this. The going out to bid does not guarantee or lock the village into doing anything other than getting actual prices to do the work. We've seen construction prices go down over the last year. Think back to the pricing that we got for Cuba Road, and then also the pricing that we got the pricing we got last year for Cuba, and then the pricing we got earlier this year for Kruger. Both of those were lower than anticipated. We'd like to see if the trend continues and go out to bid for this, for both the base bid and this alternate. Now, like I said, there's very little risk to going out to bid and getting some numbers to the village. Again, doesn't lock us into anything. And then also, even though you've got a base bid and an alternate bid, the way the contract will be structured, and once we get the bids back, we can separate it out a little bit. There's going to be a kind of an a la carte kind of approach that the village could take to this. Say, for example, the bids come in and it does cost $780,000, and that may be a little bit too rich. Is there an opportunity to back out, the bollards? Is there an opportunity to back out some of the parking lot reconfiguration, but still put lighting in and still put the conduit in for the charging stations? The answer to that will be yes. And we'll be able to get the bids, we'll be able to tabulate those numbers and actually have it separated out so the village can, pick and choose, usually to meet budget after the bids come in. So that's the plans. That's the two base bid and the alternate. The alternate is, kind of the all-in enchilada for the amenity package, and looking for approval from the village tonight to issue these for bids. If the village approves and authorizes going out to bid, we'll probably get these on the street early next week and have some numbers. I'm hoping by the first meeting in June for the village board to consider and discuss.
Questions from the trustees on just bidding it out?
Yeah, I'm fine with getting it bidded out. I like that there's an a la carte option. So let's get as much information as we can.
Rita, you're unmuted. Do you have anything to say?
Just that, yeah, I'm fine with putting it out for bid. I had a couple of ideas in the last few weeks for whatever it's worth, but it's future planning or future thinking, really, in that it occurred to me that this piece of land where we're parking cars is potentially a super valuable piece of land in the future. Definitely, we need to do something with the parking lot the way it is now, period, for sure. No problem with that. But let's say that this parking lot is, let's just for argument purposes say it's an acre and a half. If it wasn't a parking lot, it could be a pad or pads for revenue producing businesses in the future. And that begs then the question of, okay, so where does everybody park? And if you drive around the immediate downtown, there are buildings that currently could be purchased, perhaps turned into parking areas. The Long Grove Church has a parking lot and a huge green space. It's theoretically possible, maybe in the future, to have a public-private partnership with them, put a parking facility there, and they use it whenever they need it, blah, 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 blah. So that maybe therefore, again, just food for thought, if in 10 or 15 years, we said, we've had some significant growth, we could put some more buildings in here, this may be the place to do it. So maybe, and if that were the case, then maybe we wouldn't, go nuts on this. Not that we're going nuts on it, but we might do something that's not a 20-year plan, but a 10 or 15-year plan. That's all. That's the only thought I've had about this, but I thought I'd put it out there for what it's worth.
Thanks, Rita. Chris?
Actually, I like Rita's thinking and her thought process, and have a tendency to kind of agree that not only would this be a valuable piece of property to populate some buildings on in the future, perhaps, but it also resolves kind of the property line conflicts that may exist in this property as well. So I think that's really very creative, again, on Rita's part to even mention that. No objection to having it bid. Just had additional random thoughts. If we go with proposal 1 and just kind of redo what we've got, maybe we take those triangle railroad tie things, get the garden club involved, and maybe do a memorial type of thing where somebody wants to maybe sponsor a triangle or something could take the garden club recommendation and maintain that, or take care of it, or plant it or something. I don't know, something creative for some community involvement.
Fun.
And in this particular situation, I think if we're going to drop $120,000 on conduit for electric cars, I think we need electric car parking meters to pay for it.
Yep, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Anything else? Because I do have a comment as well.
No, that's it. Thank you, Bill.
So my comment was, my opinion is that we need to get the lot paved, but we don't need to have all the amenities, right? So, but it's, to me, to leave those, you said to have it as a project for somebody to redo those planters. What would it cost to eliminate them, Jeff, and just have it be extra parking spots, right? Striped or something on the ends.
Yeah, we can certainly work that into to the bid documents to actually have that number.
I don't disagree with that, Bill, either. But question, Jeff, is a bus going to hold up, or is the 5 inches of asphalt going to hold up to buses? Are we not, by putting bus parking in there, RV parking, and we're not asking for like big heavy vehicles to come through our new asphalt again? Or is there something else we could do with buses that makes more sense?
Yeah, the 5 inches of asphalt is adequate to handle bus traffic. So
okay, thank
yeah,
you.
figuring out where the buses go and the routing, was a bit of a thing to work out that puzzle.
Yeah, because it's tight in there. I can see that for sure.
Hey, so Jeff, again, so we repave the whole parking lot, and we don't put the fancy new islands with trees and landscaping. But in your base bid, can it be striped differently to allow for bus parking, or changing the configuration of the parking to maximize it? Does that cost any extra? Isn't the main cost just putting the asphalt in?
The main cost is putting the asphalt in. If we don't do some of those other amenities, most significantly like the lighting improvements, we're striping around the existing lights. So that kind of limits some of the options, but certainly certainly something that, you know, we did look into, but we can make a look to see if we can't get another spot or two, and maybe it makes sense that with the base bid, you take out and I'm just throwing it out there for discussion, but you take out the landscape timber islands and you get a handful more spaces that way.
Those potentially could be parking for the, you know, those little mini cars, the kind you can kind of pick up and move. You know, but I mean, why, if they want to park, why would they take up a whole big space if we had small spaces for them? And the plantings, you could have those tall lights that have the big hooks on them, like in the city where they have those big planter jobbies hanging from them, like hanging baskets. Maybe kill two birds with one stone. I don't know. I don't know who waters that stuff if you don't get water from the heavens.
So Bill, do you need us to do
Yeah,
anything
a
besides
motion
give
to-
direction or?
Yeah, a motion to approve or authorizing the bidding for the Stemple parking lot improvements.
So moved.
Moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by
Chris?
Second. Oh, Chris.
trustee Borowski. Yep. And Sherry, can you do a roll call?
Sure. President Jacob,
Yes.
trustee Michaud,
Yes.
trustee Borowski,
Yes.
trustee O'Connor.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. The only other thing I wanted to make a comment on, though, is on the conduit. Are there any other lower cost options to make sure we have conduit in there? Because even if even if we don't do these islands, there's got to be a way to put that conduit in so it's there. So I just would challenge you on a lower cost conduit option for future electric charging stations. So my only last thought. We're on a beer budget literally next to the brewery on this one, my opinion.
All right, no, certainly.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to turn this meeting to, open to public comment. If there's any public comment tonight, anyone wants to say anything? All right, there's no one wants to make any public comments. So the only last thing that I'd like to do before we adjourn is, and if we need to go into executive session to change anything, there were some executive session meeting minutes before you for the April 13th, April 14th, April 15th, April 17th meetings, executive session meetings. There was one mistake on them that I believe has been corrected, but the ones that it said Tuesday, April 14th was really Wednesday, April 14th. And then the time on it, Amy, if you're still here, was 6:14 is when it started, not correct, not 6:48. But all the other ones looked fine to me. So there's 4 sets of executive session meeting minutes. We don't have to discuss the contents of them. But if you're okay with that one modification, I would look for a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Michaud. That's a roll call, please. Yep.
Okay. Trustee Borowski,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
and President Jacob.
Aye, motion carried. All right, so we are not going to have executive session tonight unless somebody's dying to have it. You have an email from Sharon Klump. If you could respond to her email, that would be appreciated. Hopefully we can come to some agreement on who to interview next week. Are you good with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, if you are, and then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Michaud,
Second.
seconded by trustee O'Connor. Roll call, please.
President Jacob,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Michaud,
Aye.
and trustee Borowski.
Yes,
Vote any way you
indeed.
want, the vote's already been, or the vote will pass.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Good night, everyone. Chris,
night,
you can
everyone.
stay on the meeting if
Everyone.
you want. If you want, you can stay here alone.
Thank
All
you.
right, good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.